Hi, fifth grade. It's Thursday, review week 3. Today we're going to be working with a chart right here with some information from our chart. We're going to use that information to help us do some adding and subtracting. What you're going to need is to have this slide open. You might want to half screen and have the video open at the same time so you can do some of these with me. And then when I color on here, because we're going to have to do some coloring with this first one, you guys are probably going to be dragging that colored block from the side of your slide over onto the correct one. Our directions say the table lists the number of followers singer Ed Sheeran has on multiple different social media platforms. Use the information to complete the task. First thing I'm going to do is just kind of look at my chart and see what it shows me. So I have my social media platforms listed down here on the left: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Then it tells me how many followers Ed Sheeran has on each of those platforms. So on Twitter, he has 18,254,032 followers. On Facebook, he has 18,259,222 followers. On YouTube, he has 45,214,521 followers, and on Instagram he has 31,897,521 followers. So this information in this chart is what I'm going to use to help me answer the questions. Letter A first. I'm going to shade with a crayon, but I want you guys to please shade or drag your boxes over. I'm going to use my green crayon. It says, shade the platform with the most followers in green. So I'm going to look here. I need to know which number is the largest. Well, if I'm thinking about my place value, I know we've talked about in class that the further left you go, the larger your place value is. So I'm going to look over here at my 10 millions place, which each number has. And YouTube has a 4 in the 10 millions place. That's the largest. So I'm going to color in this number in green. Then it says to use red for the least, not the number that is the least. So let's see, I'm going to look at my numbers again. Go over here. In my 10 millions place, I have a 1, and a 3. Well, 1's smaller than 3. So I'm going to look. These two numbers both have a 1. I'm going to look at them. They both have a 1 in the 10 millions place. They have an 8 in the millions place. That's still the same. They have a 2 in the hundred thousands place. That's still the same. They have a 5 in the 10,000s place. That's still the same. Oh, now we've got a difference. In our thousands place, this number has a 4 and this number has a 9. What would be less, 4 or 9? 4 would be less than 9. So this Twitter number is the least number of followers that Ed Sheeran has. I'm going to color that number in red. Okay, letter B says, how many more followers does Ed need on Twitter to reach 20 million followers? Okay, how many more? That's a clue word. That's telling me that I need to subtract. So I'm going to say that's going to be about Twitter. So my Twitter number was 18,254,032. And then I'm trying to figure out how many more he would need to get to 20 million. So I'm going to subtract 20 million minus 18,254,032. Okay, we're going to have to do lots of borrowing here. So I can't take 2 from 0. I'm just going to jump all the way over and borrow. Instead of having to borrow a bunch of times, I'm just going to borrow from one place value. So that's going to make this, taking 1 away from each place value. Okay, whoops, yeah. hold on, I'm checking myself here because my brain didn't like what I just did. So if I borrowed from the 2, that would make that a 1, that would make that a 10, but I have to keep borrowing over. So I have to borrow from the 10, make that a 9, borrow, 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 make that a 9. That would make this a 10. So I did make a mistake there. Good thing I looked back and thought about that. So remember, I'm borrowing from that place value before. That means I'm taking 1 away from that tens place and giving that 10 to the 0. So it's 10 minus 2, which would be 8. 9 minus 3 would be 6. 9 minus 0 would be 9. 9 minus 4 would be 5. 9 minus 5 would be 4. 9 minus 2 would be 7. And 9 minus 8 would be 1. So my answer, Ed would need 1,745,968 in order to reach 20 million on Twitter. So here's my answer. You're going to type it up here in this box. So I'm going to go ahead and write my answer here. Okay, so on your own, you have 2 questions left to answer with our chart. Letter C says, I know you can't read mine, but you can read it on your slide. Find the difference between the platform with the highest amount of followers and the platform with the second highest amount of followers. So find the difference is telling me to subtract. So I know I'm going to do a subtraction problem out here to the side here. And then letter D says, if all the people who follow Ed on Facebook also subscribe to YouTube, how many YouTube subscribers do not follow him on Facebook? Well, I know what 2 numbers to use because it mentioned those 2 platforms. You just need to figure out what operation to do with those 2 numbers. Okay, please complete letters C and D and then turn that in.